Today, we posit the Powder Works effect. In our first custom coder interview in over a year, be prepared to learn something new about yourself and your business through the eyes of another custom coder. It's always refreshing to hear another person's story to get you inspired, but we're not talking about Maui Powder Works. We're talking to Matthew Jones, owner of Powder Works out of Dallas-Fort Worth, who shares his story over the past couple of years. Catch up with us when we cover topics on how he's troubleshooted struggles, faced industry problems, and prepared for the unthinkable. Get ready to level up your powder coder game.
Welcome to the Powder Coder Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Scott, where we talk about trending topics, interview custom coders to help you grow your custom coder business. Today, I'm really excited to have a guest on that has been a while. It's been in the making now for over a year, and he's a custom coder. So I'm happy to announce that we finally have another interview, custom coder interview. Matthew Jones of Powder Works is here. He's out of Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I'm so happy to have him on the show. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Before we get started, though, I want to just give you an update about our last episode with Gabe at Crosslinks, where we talk about the war on paint. It just got released, and I hope if you haven't had a chance to listen to it or watch it on our YouTube channel, go over to YouTube and search for Maui Powder Works, and you'll find our playlist for and just subscribe. He gave me an update recently in regards to that, where we talk about some of the shortages happening in the paints and coatings market. So he just emailed me the other day and he goes, haha, I may have spoken too soon on the podcast. I believe a component of powder called calcium carbonate is apparently sourced out of the Ukraine, in which lots of powder manufacturers are struggling to source now due to the war. It's going to be an interesting 3 months ahead. Just wanted to give you just a heads up on that if you did watch that. Calcium carbonate is basically, I think it's chalk. Basically is what it is. That's the easiest way to say what it is. Do you know, I didn't know that calcium carbonate, I just barely know anything on powders. I'd like to know more. Did you know about calcium carbonate?
I'm learning about formulas a lot more here lately with all of the shortages and what we are lacking as far as what's needed to make powder and things like that.
Yeah, it's funny. You guys down in Texas have been going through more or less biblical weather anomalies and stuff. I don't know about your area, but I know just Texas has been getting hit a lot on different levels. And Crosslink Paints is out of Texas too. What kind of triggered me onto that subject and to get Gabe on the show was I had just come back from Powder Coating Week in Orlando, and they brought up a question which triggered like a quiet panic, I think, in the room, because I don't think that it was really, people were just so happy to be there and socializing again without masks and all this stuff, that I think it kind of took the group and everyone in the room by not shock, but just what's going on. It did me, and we had a good discussion around it at the roundtables. But I don't want to say go out and buy a bunch of powder, because Ross and I have had this conversation where we don't want to order too much powder. Do we order more? If we do order more powder, do we order just our staples, our in-house powder, or do we, I don't know. I don't want to panic for the exits, so to speak, or start doing hoarding when I don't really need to.
What I've been doing is just communicating with my reps. My Sherwin-Williams rep, for example, let me know a year and a half ago, when we were only 6 months into the pandemic, hey, this is starting to affect our supply chain. We're going to do what we can to keep the heavily used powders in stock, but you may see some of the lighter used RELs and things like that kind of cycle in and out of stock. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with like Prismatic having a lot of issues with gold being out of stock and things like that. You're prioritizing. I think all of the companies are prioritizing to the blacks and the whites and a lot of the heavily used, the yellow, safety yellow and international orange, things like that, so that the commercial customers, for one, can be taken care of. And then we hope that things like the illusion colors don't all fall off of stock too.
Yeah. I guess that's one of the things. It's okay. Let's zero in on what our that's being powdered. I don't know what he's doing there. I forgot what color he picked. I think it's a black, satin black or something. There are ways around it. We're just in the discussion mode now about how much business are we anticipating going into our busy season kind of starts in July, August, because in the fall, contractors start to pick up. It's a mad dash to December, mid-December before the tourists get here. And I don't know, just the way that it works around here. So we're just trying to think, okay, out of the next, what, and I don't know why he said 3 months. So I don't know. Maybe it's just that he's thinking of it on a quarterly basis, or just that they're hoping things are going to be over in 3 months. I don't know.
And Gabe is talking about paint. And I know Gabe. Gabe's a real nice guy. We do a lot of work with the Crosslink paints. Roxanne is my rock over there. She handles things great. And they're having issues specifically with paint, especially the base component for a lot of your whites and things like that is just impossible to get. We're seeing that with PPG and other companies as well. For us, luckily, I haven't run into a situation where just a powder was unobtainable. Now, I have had I've had one specific powder coater in my area reach out to me to see if I had Bismarck Gold, just in case, because I was listed on Prismatic's website as a vendor. And so they reached out to me. I didn't have any, but I felt their pain. I did everything I could to try and help them out. I think what Gabe is dealing with in the paint industry is they're doing everything they can to just, motor through it.
Yeah. And compounding that is employees or keeping at the pace, right, too. So that was the other difficult thing going on for him. And I think that if we do see a shortage, you'll start to see longer wait times, or maybe the initiation of front of the line pass kind of stuff like what Prismatic powder. And I knew the minute that they initiated that they were saying it was just temporary, why they were building that building or hiring. I don't know. I think they hired like 100 something people. I don't know how. It was like a huge amount of people that they had to hire in a short amount of time. And it was just interesting that I knew they weren't going to take that down. I think everybody wanted to have increased time to get their stuff. Jobs happen that way. You have to be able to turn around a job pretty quick, order pretty quickly.
But when you go from expecting a shipper to an order to be placed and have it in your hands within just a couple of days, and it turns into 10 to 14 days, and you're used to being able to promise a customer, or at least have a general idea that if I order this on a Thursday, it's going to be here Tuesday. And when that becomes a big question mark and you have no idea, and you've got to tell your customer, I don't know when it's going to be here. It's egg in your face to some extent. It's difficult. And that was a difficult period. We all felt it. That was shared.
Yeah, it was shared. I've been trying to get Kirk on for a while. I think he'd be ideal, but he's so busy. And I'll continue to reach out. I'm going to get him on the show. He already said he would come on the show, but it's just finding the right time and stuff like that. And I think that hopefully the podcast is getting out there. It's not going away. It's not a temporary thing. And it's letting everybody know that we're here and we're this voice both ways to keep tabs on our community. And as it grows or ebbs and flows or bottoms out or tops out or whatever kind of thing. How are you doing on pricing?
It's fluid right now. I think I'm going to speak for everyone. I think when I say this, I don't understand pricing and powder coating. I came into this business relatively naive, and probably one of the biggest areas I was the most naive in was the pricing. It's really difficult to know what your competition is charging reliably from any one point in time. And I hear customers come in and they're like, wow, that's a great price. The one that was charging me this. And I go, wow, I should have charged more. And then I'll see a bid where I'm right on. And then I'll see a bid where I'm way out of the ballpark. And me personally, I try and do everything from a math perspective. I've got my linear footage pricing laid out. I've got my square footage pricing laid out for different things. And I try and be as transparent with my clients as I possibly can. Just give them that price and let them a lot of times price it out on their own, because I want my team to be able to price the same price that I'm going to price. I know that there's people out there that they look at a part and they go, oh, that's $6. I don't know where they're getting that number from, just the feel of it or just how much they want the end invoice to be. But yeah, it's really difficult to price in this market.
For us, we're in our location, I want to say we're hitting a bit of a sweet spot. I've never really experienced this before in powder coating, or since we've owned a powder coating. It could be part of it is that we've built that reputation digitally, and we've built it word of mouth. And in one sense, I'd like to believe that we're able to charge top prices because of who we are. Then there's this other force where we have a lot of extremely wealthy people moving here. I've talked about it before on the show, where they literally are an economy in and of themselves. And then now we're starting to see their friends move here. So, right, like they're influencers within their own group. And now it's keeping home prices, mega $1 million homes. We just did a gate over Christmas or in December, was with our new patina effect, and the home just sold for $30 million cash. I'm like, that's insane. So yesterday I had to rush the photographer out there because I wanted to get some professional photos of it. And it was just a rush to get out there because it was closing so quickly because of the cash sale. So fortunately, I think he went out there yesterday and hopefully got some good shots. But it's kind of crazy because some people have just bought down there, and now you're starting this ripple effect. I'd like to say that our gate is worth $29 million.
Right.
But the house it's a beautiful house. So for us, there's this other layer where we're in this very wealthy area. And it's a wealth inflationary thing where they want the best. And so it's easy for people to source this out because we're number one in Google, whatever. So even if they don't know anything about powder coating, they just know they need to get it. It's helped that we're at the top for sure, because that's the first number they're going to call. So it took us several years to get, for sure. And so I'd like to say it's my efforts, but I can't really say that it's all that. I think it's some kind of other inflationary or post-COVID effect. I don't know. It's interesting. So we're charging the most that we possibly can. I didn't think we could ever, so far nobody's balking the prices. So I don't know if that means there's more headroom there. I know where things just generally on the island have quieted down in the last couple of weeks, just in the complex here. I monitor everybody else's business and see how busy they are, just to see generally how things are. Sure. But I don't know if you do that too, or where you're located. Now, when we were talking though, we were going to have you on the show about a little over a year ago, but you were opening up a second location. Did that ever happen?
So pandemic killed that. We gave it 3 months. When we broke ground in June of 2019, the building was ready by December, by the end of December on 2020 of 19, and we could have moved in January 20. we didn't have electricity yet. The co-op in that particular county was dragging their heels on getting the electricity just to the building. And so we didn't have electricity until the middle of April. And we were all
by then
we were locked down. There was
dodging a bullet.
Yeah. So we went ahead and gave it a shot, but I put a 3-month target up. We actually opened the doors in the 1st of September, and we went ahead and it was just the manufacturing companies were furloughing. And of course, the just manufacturing in general was low. There were a lot of factors that played into it just not being the right time for us. I managed to keep everybody employed. We just brought everybody back to the original building that we had kept open, and then just rolled on from there.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I know that out of all of this, we've come out post-COVID a lot leaner, a lot more profitable. So combination of increasing our prices, but also like just bare boning everything or skinning everything down to the bone in order to maintain our cash flow and keep debt down and stuff like that. How did you come out of that?
We survived. We didn't take any PPP. We managed to skin of our teeth. I would say that 2020 was our best year up to that point for patio furniture. It seemed like everybody decided that they were, if I'm going to be stuck at home, can't travel, can't do anything, now's the time to do patio furniture. So we did a ton of patio furniture, saved us. We have a contract we're a sub for a contractor for the military. And so we had some military stuff that kept us busy and kept us open, basically, as far as being able to be open during that period of time. But yeah, we came out leaner a little bit. Definitely 2021, the board meeting topic was costs. What do we need to do to, cut costs, get costs down? And we also started working on redundancies inside the company with operations management, with sales and things like that. We wanted to just have some redundancies in place. And those really came in handy in the fall. But yeah, we made it through it.
Yeah, I was a little shocked. We just got our taxes back. So I kind of was a little shocked. For the first time, my CPA wasn't complaining. I'm like, all right, I've got my little notepad ready to take his advice or whatever, his little tips. And you're paying too much taxes. You need to change your status. Or he wants us to do an S Corp now. And I'm like, whoa, that was unexpected. I don't know. I'm wavering on that. We haven't really decided. We keep talking about it. I'm kind of more into switching this in terms of getting contract work. I'm kind of more into switching this to a 51% female owned business just for that handout. But I know he would never buy into that. He just thinks that's all bunk stuff. But hey, I don't know. We'll see. But
classifications help. Women owned, they all help.
Yeah. I think for him, there was another company here they closed a long time ago, but they were doing that. It wasn't like she was powder coating or anything. It was just that not that you have to be a powder coater to own the business or whatever, but he didn't think that was right what they were doing, but I don't know. So let's talk about the inspiration of this episode was that there's this, think of it as a Mandela effect, but I call it the Powder Works effect. I'm going to share my screen here for a minute here. Oh, wait, shoot. Let me get the video up first. So we have this is the screenshot or a video I took of all the different powder works on Instagram and stuff. It's crazy. It's super crazy. There we are. We're at the end.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? And it's funny because I didn't really notice this until probably around 2018, 17, 18, when I started to get into market more of the Instagram and all that stuff. And it was just like, wow, what happened? It was like, everybody had the same thought at the same time. And I don't know what, I keep asking him, he just thought it was a cool name. I don't know if he searched you out, or I'm assuming there was at least one other Powder Works out there. I think it was you. When did you start Powder Works?
Well, so I actually bought Powder Works after its original owner passed away. I bought it from his wife. He owned a welding company called WeldWorks. So for him, the natural, direction was to go with Powder Works. So his was just an accident off of his own name. And when we bought it, I thought long and hard about the name, and I was like, well, I really like Powder Works. I'm going to stay with it. And went ahead and filed everything, and then started going to do my website and realized, wait, Powder Works is taken. And I started doing the deep dive into how many Powder Works there were. And again, just in the DFW area, there's 3.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm going to bring up your site right now. You have a very nice site. It's very professional. It's not like my crazy one, but can you see my screen?
I can.
Yeah. This is just, I love the quality color forever. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that forever has come to bite me a few times. So.
Oh, has it? Yeah, I imagine. But it's a bold statement, but I think that it just instantly gives the user this impression about you and stuff. And yeah, okay, maybe there's a couple of bites every now and then, but for the most part, you seem to be, if anything, it keeps you on your toes, keeps your people on their toes, sets the standard. But it's a really nice website. The colors and everything are really cool.
Yeah, the blue and the white is something that I've really latched onto from a marketing standpoint. I came into this with an art background, and my college education is all in marketing and web design and things like that. So the irony is that I didn't design my website just simply because I don't have the time to keep up with it and do things. Found a company that I trusted and had a lot of conversations about what I wanted, but they've done a pretty good job. It's time for an update.
Yeah, you should. The thing is, you should always be updating your site. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It never should be. It's somewhat exhausting in that sense. I don't know what to tell you about it. It can go a while but then there's always a new update from WordPress or from somewhere else, or it's just always, or Google, Apple have really disrupted a lot of norms by taking back permissions and stuff like that. And I think that has changed a lot of things, especially like, in terms of ranking and stuff like that. And then with Apple and Facebook having a war, actually Google started the war, and then Apple joined in, and then it was now Facebook is, but I had something happen on my Facebook where I used to be able to post Instagram, and then it would do the cross posting to Facebook. And then they did some kind of a change or update or something. And however I had it set up, it got all screwed up where I wasn't able to cross post anymore. And then things got real crazy because we were doing some ads. And I went into the business suite side of it and the ad side, and then there's manager, and it's just so many things. It's a juggernaut of code that never works. And I can see why Zuckerberg wants to walk away from it, because it's a ugly, horrible monster. The only way I could get through to Facebook was I kept getting, and they want you to start advertising with them because they're sucking gas on that. So I answered the messenger thing. Oh yeah, sure. I'll book an appointment, thinking, okay, I'm not going to buy any more ads from you until you guys fix my crap. And so I got a conversation with the guy, and he set up a tech thing. And then I got an email from tech support saying, oh, take a video here. We see that we've received this problem, complaint, whatever. and then take a video of it and then send it back to us. So I'm like, a week later, I'm like, okay, now I got to go into Instagram, make a post, make a video of it and stuff. And when I go there after a week of just brewing over the fact that they should just be able to look into the back end of my account and understand what the problem is, I go back in there and I realize, oh shit, they fixed it. I'm like so happy now. And now I have all these other cool tools in the Instagram now to fix everything and stuff like that. So I'm pretty happy about it now. I'm jazzed about posting on Instagram again, which is I haven't been lately. So anyways, it's nice when they can fix your stuff or they do respond to you,
Right.
But you really only the only way to get their attention is if you want to do some advertising.
And I did notice that you've been posting on Instagram again. So
I have. Part of it is like, I have so much content. I don't really need to make any more, although I do like the day-to-day stuff. When we were in our old location, the lighting was so much easier. It's just really harsh here because we're east facing. And so the light doesn't quite cast the same as when we were south facing. And so I've had a hard time getting the right angle. Plus it's just a super cramped small shop now. And it's hard to really get all of that, those cool angles like I was getting before. There's Ross sweating away.
doing the deed.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. So yeah, it's been great. And I feel like refreshed now that I can actually post something and have it work the way I want it to work now. But it was like, why'd you send me this email if you already fixed the dang thing? Like you just made me like go through the motions of doing something when I realized it was already fixed. But that's Facebook for you. Other than that, what other marketing are you doing?
I've got the website. I've got Facebook, Instagram. We do brochures. We do shows. I'm willing to try pretty much anything. Obviously, I'm just like all of us, anything to get our name out there, word of mouth. And then just the grind, just going around and knocking on doors and talking to people. And that's our biggest marketing right there is our sales reps going out and actually being out there in people's faces, talking to them. It's the rest of it is all great to be able to point to and say, hey, check out our Instagram page, check out our Facebook. But I've seen a decline over the last few years for what comes to us through Facebook. In fact, I'd say I get more actual messages now from new clients through Google specifically than I do Facebook. And some of that has to do with I've stepped away from just posting actively on Facebook and Instagram. I have a company, the same company that does my website, posts twice a week on Facebook for me, industry specific posts or whatever I want them to post, pictures and that kind of thing. But I've stepped away from just overloading my Facebook page with pictures on a daily basis. It works for some people. It really works for coders like Robert at RMP. He's got that thing figured out. He's got the metrics figured out.
He has the following too, right?
He has the following.
So you have to, yeah.
So
that's what I've noticed is the more people you have following you, liking you, whatever, what he does is extremely viral. So he's got the juice, so to speak. And I think the other thing is it's the area too, right? Everybody's into that in your area.
Yes. And it's one of the reasons I actually got out of doing the 2-color wheels and things like that. The biggest reason is just the time, just the amount of time that it pulls out of my booth and the labor involved. But also I'm literally right between Robert and Zach Peanut.
Right.
I mean,
but that's a good thing, though. I think that's really smart because you do have those two. So why even try? And I don't want to say try as a negative.
Yeah, that's kind of fatalist. I don't like to say it like that. But when I can serve a client by pointing them in the direction of someone who can take care of them and is more than happy to take care of them, take care of that type of job. Mm-hmm. While I've got 3/4 of a mile of fencing to do and 10,000 widgets and all that kind of stuff, then I'd much rather help the customer and point them in the right direction than just leave them in the wind and say no.
Yeah. I think that's just understanding. First of all, you think about it this way, you're helping to create a healthy environment.
Right.
Business environment, all three of you actually, because you do have Zach, and I don't know how much they actually, I don't know enough about them to know that's all they do, or obviously they're doing builds, custom build trucks and UTVs and stuff. So he's got this kind of more, I want to say, influencer type thing going on. And then Robert has this.
He's killing
it because he's so talented. It's talent. And I was thinking about this today on the way to work. There's a talent level. Actually, I was thinking of Victor Pate from Black Label and how he gets booked out a year in advance. Right. Roro does too. I'm pretty sure Robert's right up there as well. And it's this sweet spot between talent and pricing and demand. That is, I'm still trying to define what that is, but I think it can be used for everyone. And like you can use that formula as well in just knowing what it seems like. You're doing a lot of architectural gates and railings and stuff.
So I would say in the last year, we've really transitioned from the job shop that took in everything to we are now, I would say the vast majority of the jobs that we do are focused strictly at commercial. And so we're telling walk-in customers, good or bad, we're telling walk-in customers 5 weeks at this point. And if they can't wait that long, again, we're happy to point them in the direction of other shops so that they get served. A lot of them are fine with that, which tells me that if they've shopped at all, then we're the norm. We're not out of the norm.
Right.
But for our commercial customers, obviously, we are really pushing hard for those quick turnaround times, 5 days, what's needed based on their time frames and everything, just like the rest of us try. But that's what we're really transitioning. And I think probably within the next year, within the next, the calendar year, we'll be stepping away from customers as a whole, and so that wheels and things like that, there's companies that want to do wheels. There's companies that want to do lift kits and things like that. And we're moving away from that just simply because it's a time consuming product for a margin that we don't see as sustainable.
I agree. It's similar. We're probably like that on a smaller scale, than you. But when the big jobs come in, they definitely. It's like I always get this saying wrong. But what do you bend over to pick up a dime when there's $1,000 job?
Exactly. And my operations manager is always reminding me of that. This is a $150 job. This is a $10,000 job, and he's right. At the same time, I started this by going after, and sometimes that draw, that pull is still in me that, I got to get that in the shop. I got to get that in the shop. And sometimes that's not the right thing to do for the shop. That does more harm than good. To bring in a $400 bumper that's going to need blasting and it's going to take up an entire rack and it's going to be a color change that is going to happen in the middle of a huge job that is all white or black or something like that. These are the things that for a one-time struggling coder, coding shop, I have to think of now as, do we really need to worry about?
Yeah, I think that there comes a time when your business will be at that point that you're at. I'm tend to be the mommy type, let's help everybody, say yes to everything, because you never know what's coming around the corner kind of thing. Ross has definitely become more discretionary within that and isn't afraid to tell someone bye-bye. It's maybe we're getting to where you are, where you've just come from in terms of that. I think part of it is just I think our struggle is to create that demand within the state for these larger jobs. That seems to be, in terms of getting to more of the marketing side again, to like you said, you're doing trade shows. Are you focusing on like gate and railing trade shows when you do one, or what kind of trade show? Don't have to give me the whole lowdown secret part, but just like your focus is mostly what?
My focus is the problem with just trying to hit one specific thing is that you never know who you're going to talk to or who you're going to meet. I'm willing to do any show. I went out and did the Wise County Home and Lawn Show a couple weeks ago. Small show, nothing. It was just a small show. But I ran into 2 customers who could be $100,000 over a year, over a 12-month span. And I had a $200 investment in the show.
That would be well worth it.
And I went into it thinking all I'm trying to do is get one. If I get one bumper out of this job or out of this show, it's been worth my time. But I went in expecting that I was going to talk to somebody who was going to know somebody, and that typically happens. There's metal fabrication shows all over the place, all the time. And just walking around them sometimes is all you need to do. You don't have to have a booth set up or something like that. You just have to network. So it's just, we got invited to a show this past weekend that was just a car show. Car shows happen every weekend. And a lot of them want to have a vendor presence and are willing to either let you do it for nothing or very cheap. And you just go out there and sit and talk to a bunch of car guys if you're trying to get in the car market. But again, you don't know which one of those car guys owns a multi-million-dollar fabrication company.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of them do, because the classic car community is full of people with expendable income, and they have expendable income for a reason.
And they're metal enthusiasts. So
exactly.
the likelihood of that is you just increased your target. And I think people are anxious to get out and meet people, network. And it seems they were listening more. Like before when you go to these things, it's some of these people, at least let's just give me an example of the powder coating week. We had all of the major suppliers there, powder suppliers there. So let's just use them as an example. And some of them I didn't know, some of them I did. It just seemed like they sent their top people is number one, not the guy that just got hired last week to hand out brochures. They sent the top people, and they actually listened to what I was talking about, what I had to say, or they themselves were interested in hearing what, maybe because they're being paid to do that. I don't know, but it seemed like the momentum or the vibe was attentive and enthusiastic versus before when you go to these shows, it's hand out a brochure. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Next. So I did that. And I hope that continues for at least a little while, because I think there's a lot of people need to be heard. We're coming from the trenches and they need to hear what we have to say and stuff. Of course, you always have your rep and everything like that, but sometimes you wonder how far it goes up the chain of command when you have a complaint or an input on something. Let's see. Let's talk about, yes. Do you want to talk about what happened to you physically or health-wise?
Sure, it's relevant to the market. Yeah, I had a heart attack and quadruple bypass last November, right after Thanksgiving. And directly related. I survived. Spoiler alert, I survived.
How old are you?
I'm 45. I was 44. It hit pretty young, and it really hit because of the stress. We were talking about pandemic and all of that kind of stuff. I started noticing the symptoms, the early signs back in 2017, and I just ignored them. And I kept going, and I kept working the late hours, and I kept worrying about this and that, and what's this customer going to think, and labor shortages and money shortages, and let everything get to me. And it happened. And if it hadn't been for a completely unrelated reason, nobody plans to have a heart attack, but if it hadn't been for again, the redundancies that we started putting in place in the spring of 2021, there's a good chance that the company would have just folded in the month or two after it happened, if it hadn't been for my team being able to pick up and run with all of the hats that I was wearing and successfully keep things going, it would have been a different result. And they've been really good about keeping those hats on and not letting me wear them anymore. I'm relieved in a lot of ways. Now they're taking on obviously a lot more stress and things like that, but they've been really good at keeping all that stuff rolling.
Yeah, I think you really don't realize how much people, I don't know if it's care or if it's admire, or when you, I don't know. Sometimes I think that employees, it's just the employers think of employees as a one-way kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you do the work, you get paid. You do the work, you get paid. But when something like that happens and their job is on the line, or they could lose their job, it's amazing how much they can respond to that in a positive way. I just sometimes I think that the world underestimates people. Maybe they just need a chance.
Well, and I think that's a lot of the reason why we're having such a hard time with getting people these days, is because for so long companies did underestimate people, and they're starting to realize their value, and that's a great thing. That's, as an employer, I'll say the quiet part out loud. It stinks to some degree, because it's making it harder and harder to get people to do the jobs like we have, because they value their time rightly. They value their time a little bit more than working in a shop that might get to 140 degrees in the summer. It's making it more difficult. But I'm lucky in the respect that the core of my team I've had for years. They've worked with me for years. They're very loyal, and I reward that. I understand it. I try not to take advantage of it. And my senior leadership team, ops manager, office manager, CFO, everybody, they do just a fantastic job. We still have our moments where our receivables get a little out of control and things like that, but they do a great job. But we're also back on employees. We're looking at a period of time coming up where we might need to hire 9 people in a quick period of time. I don't know how to do that. It's been very difficult. I know that this has been parroted continuously out there, but it's been very difficult to get just people, not even good people, not even like skilled people, just people to work. I don't understand it.
Have you thought about, are you looking for skilled labor or just anybody, like fresh out of school? Or,
we prefer, our skilled positions are largely filled at the moment. Now, we want everyone in the shop to know how to powder coat. So we would prefer to bring someone in and teach them how to powder coat the Powder Works way. A lot of times you bring in a coder that has years of experience and things like that, and sometimes it's hard to plug them in to your system and have it work pretty seamlessly. But right now, I would take either. I would take a highly skilled person or the lowest skilled person. Right now, it doesn't matter.
I'm wondering, could you host some kind of a workforce development day? My buddy Ian, who is in shipbuilding and ship repair, welding and stuff like that on Oahu, I had him on, I think it was episode 43 or something like that. What he's trying to attempt to do is huge, and it involves workforce development. And he just posted something yesterday on Instagram where they were doing like a workforce, just trying to bring up they helped organize and be part of the James Campbell High School STEAM Academy. Visit to Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard and the USS Daniel K. Inouye. That senator has a ship named after him, for National Welding Month. Students and teachers toured the shipyard's welding school, learned from subject matter experts about welding, and experienced life aboard the Navy destroyer Mahalo. So I thought there's about 20, 30 kids in this picture and stuff. So it seems like they paired it with the Navy because they do work so much at the Navy shipyard anyways. But is there possibly, because, welding is so related to powder coating. Sure. I'm wondering, he's on Oahu, but I'm wondering if somehow we could work together to develop a workforce kind of day.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. There's several high school trade schools that are, affiliated with the high school that have come over and done a field trip, so to speak, at the shop. And we had an auto shop, for instance, come by and do their parts. They went through the process here. This was a couple of years ago, but they went through the process of media blasting and then coating and everything, their own parts. And that was wonderful. I like the idea. The issue that we run into in the conversation that my staff, continues to have is that we have basically from October until May to hire somebody, because once we get into June, especially here in Texas, the heat outside combined with the humidity, combined with
nobody wants to go anywhere.
Nobody wants to work in the shop. They come in. If you try and hire them, they get in the shop, they work a day, they never come back.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because it's just oppressively hot. And,
so you're not gonna believe this, but I got an email. Are you on the directory?
I am.
Okay. I am getting emails from people that are finding the site and then just emailing me crazy questions. Like some of them are looking for patio furniture refinishers. Oh. Somebody emailed me in Idaho because they were in this remote area. It was a dealership actually. And they were looking for someone in the Idaho area. I can't remember if it was south or north or whatever, but I responded to that. Just last week, I got an email from a high school guy out of, I think it was California. He didn't say California, but the way he referenced that he was near Lancaster in some farm out there. He was actually looking to get into this.
Sure.
And the thing is, kids are so attached to their home, to their life, their world, their friends, whatever. It's hard to get high schoolers to think about leaving or moving away or from their mothers or from their helicopter parents or whatever. But I was shocked that, and of course I emailed him. We emailed each other back and forth a couple of times just so I could help him answer or sort through what his questions, but he was interested.
Sure.
And if he's interested, then that means there's at least one kid in every city interested. And if you have to go through 30 kids to get to one that is going to have the talent, I think that, so it's possible, I guess, is what I mean to say, because I'm starting to see that coming through on the directory site. But number two, maybe you and I can work together on this. And that is, there needs to be a caliber, like a Briggs-Meyer kind of thing, not Briggs-Meyer on that level. Okay, are you good with working with your hands? Are you detail-oriented? Do you have an engineering kind of brain? It can be simply stated, and we put it all together and have a discussion around it, because it is industrial art. So you need to have some sort of artist capability. I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out my husband after being married to over 35 years or whatever, being with him for 35 years. But it can be done. Like, we could create this parameter of who we're looking for and then create a program around that. Sure. I think that would be ideal, because I think you're onto something here. There needs to be a funnel or feeder or structure to create around, and because I think they're out there. I just don't think they know enough about, again, PR. Powder coating needs better PR in general for not just getting jobs and getting the industry to understand what powder coating is and why it's so much better, but also how it affects our workforce too. Let me tell you this, somebody with a fancy degree isn't going to tell us how to hire people or how to develop workforce for custom coaters. They don't even understand what their own problem. I know that for a fact. I think that in terms of Powder Coating Institute and stuff like that, because I am a member of it, I think that they're getting that awareness now, but it's very early on. Yet they have a very good awareness of the contract machine parts line coder guys. They got that one down pretty well, but the stuff that's suffering on the vine is us in terms of our pricing and stuff. And for me, like my passion is can't we charge more for our business for what we have the adaptability to do anything. We should be able to charge more money. It's the guard mentality of it's 30 million parts and you can only charge so much for 30 million parts. Okay, go ahead, charge that. I don't care what you're charging. You have a line coding systems is practically all automated and robotics and all that kind of stuff. I don't care. What we're doing is only done by people. It needs people and people need to be paid. And the capabilities of powder and powder coating is huge.
And on the line coding thing, I know that the automated line is something, and this is a conversation that I had with a potential customer earlier this month. They were so hooked up on the automated line aspect and everything. And I know in this area, there's a handful of, I think there's one truly automated line that I'm aware of. I'm sure somebody's going to correct that. But beyond that, every other line system actually incorporates people. You've got people inside the booth spraying and all that kind of stuff. There's still people. You still have to hang the parts. You still have to take the parts down. You still have to box the parts up and all that kind of stuff. There's still a labor force involved in the process. And like for us, we've got a really big oven. We've got really big racks. We can move parts. We can move a lot of parts really fast with about the same number of people as a line system. So the price calculator that I use is actually a price calculator from a line system to tell me how much that part's going to cost. But because we're batch and not a line, we lose several of those jobs just because the person is so used to dealing with or has in their mind that a line system is the only way to go. I'd love to have a line. I may have a line in a couple of years. Who knows?
Right.
But right now, I'm a batch system, and I can keep up with lines.
Yeah. Oh, it's being done. Denny from DJ Powder Coating was on the show where we talked about rack 'em to stack 'em.
Yeah.
And he shared some of his insights on how he basically is like you, where he's doing multiple parts and lots of extrusion, lots of gates and stuff like that, where he's just converted a lot of his Mighty Hook stuff to accommodate. And it's a fascinating, he's a little shy at first when he's on the show, but once you get past all of that and he gets into the way he goes about it and how he stays competitive, he's on it. He's definitely doing it. And I think that there's certainly something to be gleaned from that if you think you're heading in that direction with your business. You know?
Sure. Yeah, you can keep up. You can be competitive. It just comes down to how driven you are and how much you want to push your equipment and your people. And it's doable. So
yeah, it's awesome. So you've recovered from your triple bypass. I guess it seems like you're looking past that. There was a very difficult time that you were in, but looking past that now, it seems that you've come out quite well and you've learned some things about yourself and about your health. What are some of the lessons that you've learned in the past 12 months?
I think the biggest one is to trust the people who are around you to do the job that they're there to do. Again, one of the biggest stress factors for me was just I felt like I had to do everything and I don't. And learning that, realizing that more than anything has been huge. And just don't sweat the small stuff is pretty cliche, but definitely trying to wear that a little bit more and we're trying to live more in the work-life balance kind of thing. I've gotten better at turning my phone off from a business perspective. I used to be the guy that was up at 10, 11, midnight answering answering texts or emails or something like that. I don't do that anymore. I'll get that. I'll catch that text or that email the next day. That's really the big thing that came out of it, was just trying to focus on really spending more time with my family and things like that, and less time worrying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because when you're scraping and trying to get your job shop up and running and equipment running and all of that ups and downs there, you do need to be on that phone all the time. But then at some point it becomes too much. And knowing when that is a personal choice, but it's social media. And I think that's what's made it even more intense is I now have like 3 messengers now. So there's, again, gotta love Facebook and Instagram. I don't have notifications on because I can't stand that. It's like checking my watch every 5 minutes or whatever. What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? But I do get the notification. I'll check notifications and it'll say, get back to this person or message or whatever. And for us, I'm not kidding you. Because we have the messenger pop up on our, well, you do you do too? I know, I don't, or is it my account? Okay. Is there a way for people just to chat from your website?
Yeah, so there's links to the website or to
Instagram, but we have the messenger button on our website.
Yeah.
And I'm techie and all of that. So I wanted that early on. I had it and tried it. We weren't really that busy, so I wouldn't get them. But now it's starting to pick up having that messenger button because Facebook finally, you didn't need to use a bot to do that. Facebook has their own now. And it's crazy because I'll have people on Instagram messaging me. Then I got this messenger thing on my website. Then I have emails. Then I've got various other messages coming through or texts or whatever. And it's just, it's great. Obviously, we've opened the funnel up for people to contact us. It can get a little just really overwhelming. I don't get as much on the Google though. And I haven't had as much. It seems like it's like we were getting more scammed on the Google My Business page messenger. It's funny how you're getting more direct.
I still get the Kubota wheels. I still get those.
We're going to find those people and bring them on the show.
I'm going to powder coat those wheels someday. I tell you.
Where are they?
But I just came to a realization, the person that's Instagramming me at 11:30 at night, I don't think is expecting me to respond back at 11:31. And I stopped worrying so much about the very responsive to messages on the badge of honor on Facebook. As far as I respond and I respond quick. I'm going to enjoy time. I'm going to enjoy a movie. I'm going to enjoy time at the lake. I'm going to enjoy time with my family and friends without worrying about whether or not Facebook is going to say that I respond within 15 minutes.
What really is at stake, what really matters. And also you've now put stuff in place, processes in place, and you've got people that are handling certain things for you so that you're able to do that. And that's just as important, especially when you get to a certain level in your business. What that level is going to be unique to everyone, but just being aware of that. But
I would say if you've got if as a business, if you've got one person that you trust, make them an admin on your Facebook page. Let them answer questions from time to time. Let them be your backup. And if your business phone number is a Google phone, have it linked somebody else's phone so that if you can't catch that phone call, it's ringing another phone and they can catch it. Just put those backups in so that it's one less thing for you to necessarily worry about. It's one less thing for you to have to 100% handle.
They do have the automated messages now for frequently asked questions. I noticed that on my new Gizmo upgrade that I got from Instagram and Facebook when I complained, but I haven't had a chance to get in there and stuff, but you can put in automated frequently asked questions and stuff. I don't know I think that has something to do with because I made a store on my Instagram, but I haven't finished connecting the store yet, but I think I have that availability. But yeah, it can get
I
a
set
bit
one of those up
overwhelming.
for wheels. I set one of those up because we always
Yeah.
get asked about how much is it for this size for a 20-inch wheel in gloss black, and boom, I've got it. It just goes right off to the customer and explains the whole thing and what we can and can't do and everything. And you don't have to type that anymore.
At Maui Powder Works, because we got the podcast and the directory and stuff like that. It's like we don't just get the typical customer questions. We get somebody halfway around the world asking us, can you help us with our Wagner? Thank you to Ashton Palmer for helping that guy out, because he went from an Eastwood to a Wagner gun. I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
That's a big jump. Whoa. And I think he was overwhelmed. And I think by the time I had gotten back to his message, he had reached out to Ashton, and Ashton had helped him and stuff. But I followed up with him on a couple of things. And it's funny because and then we have our Pinterest account. So I'll get people asking me, where do I find these rims? What's color is this or whatever? And I've shared a lot of stuff through Instagram on Pinterest. And so people don't always know how to click through to get to that, back to that original link, which may or may not show you if it's got the matte bronze or it's always the matte bronze. They never, because matte bronze is unique, but I usually get those typical calls of just people searching, using us as a resource. But I guess in a sense, we've created ourselves that way as a resource, powder coating resource. So I have to be able to, I can't just ignore those because that's my own doing, but it's awesome. It's been so nice to talk to you today.
Yeah, it's been great.
I think, are you at home? Is this your home office? Yeah, it looks like a nice cozy home office, quiet. Sometimes it gets a little crazy around here and it's hard to focus on the podcast when you're at work too. But yeah, so what's the future hold for Powder Works? Are you just keeping on, or you have bigger plans? Do you want to try to reopen that second store?
I think the natural progression for us is to align. I do think, honestly, here in a couple of years, we'll have a line system in play. We've got 3 more years on our current lease, and we definitely are wanting to build. That's always a cost saving endeavor. Anytime you're paying someone else for rent, you're paying way more than you should be paying. We're looking at building a large facility and getting that moved. But I've already had my oven priced on how much it's going to cost to move. It'll either be downtime or a company coming in and doing it. And so there's all those costs associated with it. But growth in general, we're growing. We're looking at all the ways that we can either add processes. We added dry film this year, or a dry film lubrication. It's a wet spray, but it also has to be baked on. It's for high heat applications where they need like an oil filled where you've got metal on metal, and you want it to be able to move freely. So it's designed to survive 800 to 900 degrees. It's an easy process that fell in our lap, and it's turning into something.
Yeah. Yeah, but it sounds like you're doing all the right things. How big is your oven and how big is your facility now? Just forgot to ask that earlier, but I thought I'm curious.
Yeah,
now.
we're a 10,000 square foot facility. We've got a 10 by 10 by 30 oven. We have a 25 by 25 by 20 blast room. We take on some pretty big projects. We like to do the big stuff and the quantity projects.
Do you just do sandblasting too for people, or sandblast only?
We do. That's something that I'm working harder at trying to sell as just that. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yeah. And you have gas ovens or?
Yeah, it's gas. We're natural gas at this location. We were propane at the other location with a similar size oven. And I will say propane's more. Propane is about $200, $300 more per month. That's one of my, the gas is one of the most fluctuating costs in our business. And I don't know what causes it to go up and down. I can't even keep up with it, but
I think it's the refiners.
probably.
I read something a long time ago about that, and just that's pretty much how they're trying to make their money back when the price of gas goes down. They have so many reserves here,
Sure.
And
we're in a natural gas rich area,
yeah.
and it fluctuates wildly. I'll have one month that it'll be $1,500. The next month it'll be $4,000, and
wow,
usage hasn't changed markedly. I just don't know what the metric is, other than maybe the guy that reads the meter isn't wearing his prescription glasses.
Really, I know. Now we have a smart meter. We're electric, but we have a smart meter outside now. They just installed. I think they had just installed it when we had our really big month in November, which, was our highest grossing month, and also obviously our highest electric bill. And right. I was like, oh, great. We hit the dinger. Great. It's never going to come down now. It's always going to be this price, but fortunately we've staggered down. That was the peak, and it has gone down a little bit slowly. I know they didn't like that, but we'll see how it goes with the smart meter thing. I don't know how it works, but I think that's where they're going with it.
So they don't have to send those people out anymore. They can just
right.
read it.
Yeah. I think that's part of the problem right now is we're trying to upgrade the electrical here with a permit, and I keep waiting. They're monitoring the business, or they're monitoring the building to see how the other people in the building are fluctuating with their energy and stuff like that before they go, because they may end up having to put some kind of a extra piece of equipment out here to boost it, I guess, I think is what they're doing. So that's taking our permit or getting the work to be done so much longer. And all of these buildings they were mostly built for dry storage in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Mm-hmm. And there aren't a lot of newer buildings here. So because it was mostly for dry storage, they didn't think about putting in the beefier electrical back then. So all of these buildings need massive electrical upgrades everywhere. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, in the state of Hawaii, they have this goal like 2040 or 2045 or something like that. We're all supposed to be EV, all electric, fully sustainable, no fossil fuels. And that's a hell of a goal to make in 15 years or so, less than 15 years. Mm-hmm. Holy crap. I don't even know what the timing of it is, but it's tight. And now the legislature is, wait, we got to do what? When? And so now everything they do is going to be based around this goal, because we've put it out in public or we've signed climate change agreements or something with the powers that be. So I don't see how we can, if they don't do the infrastructure. Forget about cars for a moment, but just the whole infrastructure part has to happen here first.
We dealt with that this past weekend. The 3-phase disconnect on the back of our building gotten so old. Same thing. The complex that I'm in is from the 80s, and the 3-phase disconnect was the tension spring on the inside had weakened over time to a point where it would back off of the legs and then start arcing. Mm-hmm. And then it would blow the fuse and we'd lose our 3-phase. And it's a $50 fuse. That's $50 is $50.
Right.
But if you don't have that fuse, it's a lot of down to run wherever you have to go to get a 100 amp fuse. It's downtime. Your ovens are shut down. Your booth is shut down and everything. And so you're right. Making sure that your infrastructure, specifically going to your shop or whatever, is ready to withstand and handle the workload that you're throwing at it, is probably just as important as making sure that the paint is pretty on the inside of the office and everything else like that.
Yeah. So many priorities. There's just so many priorities.
So many priorities.
It just can be overwhelming. I feel like, I don't know, like it's working one day and then the next day it's not working.
It's a fun business. I think we all have the stories. I think we all have the breakdown stories. So
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my situation at all right now because it just makes me so angry. But I took the weekend to chill, not think about it. Yeah, I think you've given us a lot by sharing your story, you've given us a lot to think about in terms of where like the crossroads can happen in a business, that you're going into this next phase of growth, and you've seen where you've come from and where you're going, and you're right in this new phase. I talked to Rosso about, you have this learning phase where you're just learning how to do powder coating and the dynamics of that. And then you go through this whole like equipment failure phase. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. It's weird. There is this thing about it. And it seems like obviously you're well behind that. And if something does fail equipment wise, you know what the problem is. You're not sitting there scratching your head going, what happened? And now you're hitting this sort of, I don't know, processes phase, or where you're just reforming maybe yourself, or I don't know what to call that phase really. I think we're almost there. But you've been there longer and stuff. So it's awesome to see it, but it's painful. Every phase is painful.
I started this out using the word naive, and I feel like I got into this naively, thinking that it would be easy, or that I knew enough, or I knew everything. I certainly didn't know anything about this business, and I have naively meandered through all of those phases.
But learned so much for it, and better for it.
Tried to learn every step of the way. So
maybe it's a leadership thing. You think it has something to do with leadership or processes, operations? I don't know. Somewhere in we're talking about.
Yeah, there's some balance in it, and it's gonna be different, unique for every shop, depending on where they want to go, how big they want to be, how small they want to be. And there's some people that just are content with doing it in the afternoon out of their garage and as a side hustle. And that's where
shout out to Steve Schelling. We know who we're talking about.
That's where they'll
be. He's one of them
going forward. And then there's coders, and then there's that are trying to make a name for themselves, and we talked about them, and then there's coders that are just trying to keep their employees employed, and so the story's going to be unique for everybody.
It is awesome. Thanks for coming on the show today. I appreciate your time. If you have anything you want to say, just make sure you put it in the comments. Again, subscribe our YouTube channel or listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Have a great day. Aloha.